The fluorescent light flickered overhead as Dr. Evelyn Spears leaned into the camera, her voice barely above a whisper. "You were never supposed to see that," she murmured, her eyes darting toward the door before she quickly switched off the recording device. The screen went black, leaving only the echo of her haunting words. "But let me take you back to where it all began. 3 weeks earlier at Massachusetts Memorial Hospital in downtown Boston." Sarah Miller clutched her coffee cup tighter as she hurried down the sterile corridor, her white coat still crisp and new after only 2 months as an intern. The morning rush at Mass Memorial was always chaotic, but today felt different, charged with an energy she couldn't quite place. "Dr. Miller," called out Janet from the nurses' station. "Room 302 needs their vitals checked." Sarah nodded, but her attention was already elsewhere. Through the glass partition of Conference Room B, she caught sight of Dr. Evelyn Spears pacing back and forth, speaking rapidly into her phone. Sarah had admired Dr. Spears from the moment she'd started her internship. The woman was a legend Harvard Medical School graduate, pioneering researcher, and the youngest department head in the hospital's history. But what happened next shocked everyone who knew the typically composed Dr. Spears. As Sarah approached the conference room to grab some charts, she heard Dr. Spears' voice rising in frustration. "No, you don't understand. The parameters are all wrong. If anyone discovers what we're actually testing..." Dr. Spears' voice trailed off as she noticed Sarah hovering near the door. Their eyes met through the glass, and Sarah felt her cheeks flush. She quickly grabbed the charts and hurried away, but something about Dr. Spears' expression lingered in her mind. Fear. In the eyes of the most fearless doctor she'd ever met. Little did Sarah know that her curiosity would set in motion events that would shake the very foundation of everything she believed about medicine. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of routine procedures, but Sarah couldn't shake the image of Dr. Spears' panicked expression. During her lunch break, she found herself wandering toward the restricted research wing, an area she'd been explicitly told was off-limits to interns. The hallway was eerily quiet, bathed in the dim emergency lighting that gave everything an otherworldly glow. Sarah's footsteps echoed softly against the polished floor as she approached the heavy security door marked, "Authorized personnel only." Her badge shouldn't work here, but something compelled her to try. The door clicked open. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside, finding herself in a narrow corridor lined with observation windows. Through the first window, she saw what appeared to be a normal patient room, but the monitors displayed readings she'd never seen before. Strange waveforms, unusual vital signs, numbers that didn't make sense according to anything she'd learned in medical school. But the real shock was still coming. At the third window, Sarah stopped dead in her tracks. The patient inside appeared to be sleeping peacefully, but the monitors showed impossible readings. Heart rate, 15 beats per minute. Brain activity, off the charts. Temperature, 89 degrees. These weren't readings from a living person, at least, not according to any medical knowledge she possessed. Fascinating, isn't it? Sarah spun around, her blood turning to ice. Dr. Spears stood behind her, having appeared as silently as a ghost. The older woman's face was unreadable, but her eyes held that same fear Sarah had witnessed earlier. Dr. Spears, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. The human body's capacity to adapt. Dr. Spears continued, stepping closer to the window. To survive conditions that should be impossible. To thrive in environments that would kill anyone else. She turned to face Sarah directly. You weren't supposed to be here, Sarah. Sarah's mouth went dry. I can explain. Can you? Dr. Spears moved between Sarah and the exit, her voice taking on a tone Sarah had never heard before. Dangerous. Protective. Can you explain why you're in a restricted area? Why you're looking at classified patient data? Why you're jeopardizing research that could save thousands of lives? I don't understand, Sarah whispered, backing against the observation window. What kind of research requires patients who appear to be dead? Dr. Spears finished. Is that what you think you're seeing, Sarah? Dead patients. The silence stretched between them, broken only by the soft humming of the monitors and the distant sounds of the hospital beyond these walls. Sarah realized she was trapped, literally and figuratively. Whatever she had stumbled upon was far bigger than she had imagined. This decision would change everything for both of them. Dr. Spears reached for her keycard and slowly approached the security panel by the door. The soft beeping of the electronic lock echoed through the corridor like a countdown. "You were never supposed to see that, Dr. Spears whispered, her fingers hovering over the lock mechanism. The door clicked shut with a finality that sent chills down Sarah's spine, and she found herself alone in the restricted wing with the woman whose secrets might be more dangerous than she could ever imagine. The door clicks shut behind Sarah with a sound that seems to echo through her very soul. Dr. Spears stands between her and the exit, but instead of the fury Sarah expects, there's something else in the older woman's eyes, something that looks almost like relief. "Sit down, Sarah," Dr. Spears says quietly, her voice carrying none of the authority it held moments before. She moves to her desk, suddenly looking every one of her 50-something years. "We need to talk." Sarah's heart pounds against her ribs. "Dr. Spears, I can explain." "No need." The doctor holds up a hand, then does something completely unexpected. She unlocks the door. "You're free to leave. But if you do, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what you really saw on that monitor." The invitation hangs in the air between them. Sarah's instincts scream at her to run, to pretend this never happened, to go back to her safe, predictable life as an intern. But curiosity has always been her weakness, and Dr. Spears knows it. 5 minutes, Sarah whispers, taking a tentative step forward. "Then I'm leaving." Dr. Spears nods slowly. "That data you saw, it's not what you think it is. But I can't explain it here, not now. There are too many ears, too many eyes." She glances toward the door, and for the first time, Sarah notices the woman's hands are shaking slightly. "Go home, Sarah. Think about what you saw. And if you truly want answers, we'll talk tomorrow." The dismissal feels wrong, anticlimactic. Sarah expected threats, maybe even security guards. Not this strange, almost maternal concern. "Dr. Spears. Tomorrow," the doctor repeats firmly, but not unkindly. "Room 15, after your shift ends. Come alone." 20 minutes later, Sarah finds herself in the hospital cafeteria, staring blankly at a cup of coffee that's gone cold. Her best friend Eric slides into the seat across from her, his concern evident in the way his brow furrows. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Eric says, studying her face. "What happened up there? You've been gone for over an hour." Sarah glances around the bustling cafeteria, making sure they're not being overheard. "Eric, what do you know about Dr. Spears' research?" "Spears? She's brilliant, but secretive." "Why?" Eric leans forward, lowering his voice. "Sarah, what did you do?" The words tumble out before she can stop them. The restricted area, the monitor, the strange data that looked like patient files but with information that didn't make sense. Dates that were wrong, treatments that didn't exist, outcomes that seemed impossible. Eric's expression grows increasingly grave as she talks. "Sarah, this could be serious. Like career-ending serious. For both of us. If anyone finds out, I know. But what if it's something important? What if people are being hurt? Or what if you misunderstood what you saw?" Eric counters, though his voice lacks conviction. He's known Sarah too long to dismiss her instincts entirely. "Look, if you're really concerned, there's got to be a paper trail somewhere. Hospital archives, incident reports, something." They spend the next hour in the basement archives, dusty and forgotten beneath the gleaming hospital floors above. Most of the recent files are digital, but older records, the kind that might hold answers, still exist in physical form. "Here," Eric whispers, pulling out a thick folder marked with Dr. Spears' name. "Incident reports from the last 2 years." Sarah's hands shake as she opens the file. At first, everything looks normal, standard medical procedures, patient outcomes, the usual documentation. But then, Buried in the back, she finds something that makes her blood run cold. A series of reports, all in DR. Spears' handwriting, documenting patient deaths. But these aren't ordinary deaths. They're patients who, according to their files, should have recovered completely. Young, healthy individuals who came in for routine procedures and never left the hospital alive. Eric, look at this. Sarah's voice is barely audible. These patients all died within 48 hours of being admitted. Different symptoms, different treatments, but they all ended up in the same place. Eric peers over her shoulder, his face pale. Room 15. They all died in room 15. As if summoned by their words, a piece of paper slips from the back of the folder. Sarah picks it up, and her heart stops. It's a handwritten note, clearly in DR. Spears' distinctive script. The truth lies in room 15. The paper trembles in Sarah's hands as she stares at the words. Around them, the archive room seems to grow smaller, the shadows deeper. Somewhere above them, the hospital continues its endless rhythm of life and death. But down here, surrounded by forgotten records and buried secrets, Sarah realizes she stumbled onto something far bigger than she ever imagined. Eric grabs her arm. Sarah, we need to get out of here. Now. But as they gather the documents, preparing to leave, Sarah can't shake the feeling that someone is watching them. The note in her hand seems to pulse with its own dark energy, and she knows that tomorrow, when she meets DR. Spears in room 15, everything will change. The question is, will she be brave enough to face whatever truth is waiting for her there? The heavy click of the door lock echoes through the sterile hallway as Sarah stares at the cryptic note in her trembling hands. The truth lies in room 15. The words seem to burn into her retinas as she and Eric exchange worried glances. We have to find it, Sarah whispers, her voice barely audible over the distant hum of hospital machinery. Whatever DR. Spears is hiding, it's in that room. Eric shakes his head, his usual calm demeanor cracking. Sarah, this is crazy. We could lose our internships, our careers, everything we've worked for. People could be dying, Eric. Sarah's eyes flash with determination. We saw those incident reports. 5 unexplained deaths in the past month, all connected to patients who were under DR. Spears' care. The weight of that revelation hangs between them like a storm cloud. Eric finally nods, knowing there's no turning back. They spend the next hour mapping out the hospital's restricted areas, using Sarah's access card and Eric's knowledge of the building's layout. Room 15 turns out to be located in the hospital's forgotten basement level, accessible only through a maintenance corridor that hasn't seen foot traffic in months. The fluorescent lights flicker ominously overhead as they make their way down the narrow hallway, their footsteps muffled by years of dust. This is it, Eric breathes, stopping before a nondescript metal door marked only with the number 15. Sarah's hands shake as she swipes her access card. The light flashes red. Denied. Her heart sinks until Eric produces a maintenance key he'd borrowed from the custodial office. The door swings open to reveal something that makes both of them gasp. Room 15 isn't just an office or storage space. It's a fully equipped laboratory, complete with state-of-the-art medical equipment that looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie. Monitors line the walls, displaying streams of data that neither of them can fully comprehend. In the center of the room sits a chair surrounded by electrodes and 4 stands, looking disturbingly like something from a mad scientist's workshop. What is this place? Eric whispers, moving toward a bank of computers that hum with activity. Sarah approaches a filing cabinet, her hands trembling as she opens the first drawer. Inside are dozens of patient files, but these aren't ordinary medical records. Each file is marked with a red stamp reading, Experimental Protocol. Unauthorized access prohibited. Eric, she calls out, her voice tight with horror. Look at this. But wait. There's something even more disturbing here. As Sarah flips through the files, she notices something that makes her blood run cold. Every single patient listed in these experimental files had been declared terminally ill by the hospital's main staff. Yet according to these records, they were all showing remarkable signs of recovery. Eric's face has gone pale as he stares at one of the computer monitors. Sarah, you need to see this footage. The screen shows grainy surveillance video of this very room, timestamped just 3 days ago. Dr. Spears stands beside the chair, carefully monitoring a patient who appears to be unconscious. What's shocking isn't just the unauthorized treatment. It's the fact that the patient, according to his file, had been in end-stage organ failure. Yet, in the video, his vital signs are stronger than those of a healthy person. She's not killing people, Sarah realizes, her voice filled with awe and confusion. She's saving them. The moral complexity of their discovery hits both interns like a freight train. The illegal experiments, the secrecy, the falsified death reports. It's all starting to make a twisted kind of sense. But before they can process this revelation fully, a shrill alarm suddenly pierces the air. Security breach in restricted area, an automated voice announces. Security breach in restricted area. Eric grabs Sarah's arm. We have to go now. Sarah frantically stuffs several files into her bag as they hear the sound of footsteps echoing through the corridor above them. They manage to slip out of room 15 just as the elevator at the far end of the hallway opens, revealing 2 security guards. They make it back to the main hospital floor through a service stairwell, both breathing heavily from the adrenaline rush. As they try to blend in with the normal hospital traffic, Sarah can't shake the feeling that someone is watching them. And then she sees her. Dr. Evelyn Spears stands at the far end of the hallway, perfectly still among the chaos of nurses and patients. Her eyes lock directly onto Sarah's, and for a moment, time seems to freeze. There's something in that gaze, not anger or disappointment, but something far more complex, almost like understanding. Dr. Spears doesn't move, doesn't call out, doesn't signal to security. She simply watches as Sarah and Eric disappear around the corner, her expression unreadable but her eyes conveying a message that chills Sarah to the bone. I know exactly what you found, and now everything changes. The encrypted file glows on Sarah's laptop screen as she and Eric huddle together in her cramped studio apartment. The storm outside rattles the windows, matching the chaos in Sarah's mind from her confrontation with Dr. Spears just hours earlier. I can't believe she actually pleaded with me, Sarah whispers, her fingers trembling over the keyboard. The way she looked at me, Eric, like she was desperate for me to understand something. Eric leans closer, squinting at the jumbled code. Maybe she is, but that doesn't excuse illegal experiments. He pauses, studying Sarah's conflicted expression. You're having second thoughts about going to Meredith, aren't you? Before Sarah can answer, her phone buzzes with a text from the journalist. Need concrete proof by tomorrow night or I can't run the story. Hospital administration is already asking questions about you too. We're running out of time, Sarah mutters, then freezes as she notices a shadow moving past her window. Eric, did you see that? They both peer through the blinds. A figure in a dark coat stands under the streetlight, seemingly watching their building. When Eric blinks, the figure is gone. We're being paranoid, Eric says, but his voice lacks conviction. Let's focus on this file. Sarah's determination hardens as she begins working on the encryption. Line by line, fragments of text emerge. Patient names, dates, treatment protocols. But as the full document unfolds, her breath catches. These aren't random experiments, she whispers, scanning the decoded text. Look at these disease classifications, Eric. ALS, Huntington's, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. These are all terminal diagnoses. Eric reads over her shoulder, his expression shifting from suspicion to confusion. Wait, Sarah. Look at these outcome reports. Patient survival rates increased by 60%. Pain management improved dramatically. These aren't torture experiments. Sarah's heart pounds as she scrolls deeper into the file. Treatment methodologies appear that she's never seen before. Revolutionary approaches to genetic therapy. Breakthrough pain management techniques. But stamped across every document is the same warning. Unauthorized research, funding denied by FDA. Dr. Spears wasn't conducting illegal experiments to hurt people. Sarah realizes, her voice barely audible. She was trying to save them when the system failed them. The weight of this revelation crashes over her. Every assumption she's made, every judgment she's passed, suddenly feels hollow. But before she can process fully, her phone rings. Dr. Spears' name flashes on the screen. Sarah, you need to listen to me very carefully. Dr. Spears' voice is urgent, almost frightened. There are people watching you. People who don't want this research to see daylight, not because it's unethical, but because it threatens billion-dollar pharmaceutical profits. Sarah's blood runs cold. What are you talking about? The figure outside your apartment. The questions administration is asking. They know what you found, and they'll do anything to protect their interests. Meet me at the hospital in an hour. Loading dock entrance. Come alone. The line goes dead. Sarah stares at Eric, her mind reeling with the implications of everything they've uncovered. This isn't about medical ethics at all, she whispers. It's about money, about keeping treatments away from people who desperately need them. Eric grabs her arm. Sarah, this is bigger than we thought. If Dr. Spears is right about people watching us, then going to meet her could be dangerous. Sarah looks back at the decrypted file, at the names of patients whose lives were saved by treatments that the medical establishment refused to fund. Her resolve crystallizes in that moment. Then we better make sure we have insurance, she says, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she begins copying the files to multiple secure locations. But as she works, a new section of the encrypted file unlocks automatically, revealing something that makes her heart stop completely. A participant list. Not of patients, but of doctors, researchers, and hospital board members. Names she recognizes. Names of people she trusted. And at the very top of the list, in bold letters, is a name that changes everything. Dr. Marcus Webb, Chief of Staff, Massachusetts General Hospital. The encrypted file glows on Sarah's laptop screen as her fingers fly across the keyboard. Eric leaning over her shoulder in the cramped break room. There, she whispers, hitting enter. The screen flickers, revealing pages of research data that make her stomach drop. Patient names, experimental treatments, survival rates, all documented in meticulous detail. Oh my God! Eric breathes, reading over her shoulder. These aren't random experiments. Look at the success rates. Sarah scrolls through case after case, terminal cancer patients who walked out healthy, children with rare genetic disorders who were completely cured, degenerative diseases that simply stopped progressing. The research Dr. Spears was conducting wasn't some mad scientist scheme. It was revolutionary medical breakthrough after breakthrough. She's been saving lives. Sarah realizes, her voice barely audible. All those people we saw in the files. They're alive because of her work. The weight of what she's discovered crashes over her. Every late night she'd seen Dr. Spears in the lab, every mysterious procedure, every locked door. It was all to help patients that traditional medicine had given up on. But the methods, the secrecy, the bypassing of FDA protocols, it was all completely illegal. Sarah's hands shake as she prints the most crucial documents. This isn't just about exposing corruption anymore. It's about understanding why a brilliant doctor would risk everything to operate in the shadows. An hour later, Sarah stands outside Dr. Spears' office, her heart hammering against her ribs. She knocks softly, and the familiar voice calls her in. Dr. Spears looks up from her desk, her eyes immediately going to the papers in Sarah's hands. I decrypted the file, Sarah says simply, closing the door behind her. Dr. Spears' shoulders drop, and for the first time, she looks genuinely vulnerable. Then you know. I know you've been conducting unauthorized clinical trials. I know you've been using experimental treatments without FDA approval. And I know, Sarah's voice softens, that you've saved dozens of lives doing it. Dr. Spears stands slowly, walking to the window that overlooks the hospital parking lot. Do you have children, Sarah? No, ma'am. I do. My daughter Emma died of Batten disease when she was 8 years old. Her voice remains steady, but Sarah can hear the pain underneath. I watched her deteriorate for 2 years while we followed protocol, while we waited for approvals, while we exhausted every traditional option. She died waiting for someone to try something different. Sarah feels tears prick her eyes as Dr. Spears continues. 6 months after Emma died, I developed my first experimental treatment. It would have saved her, but getting it through proper channels would have taken 5 years minimum. 5 years of watching other children die while bureaucrats shuffled paperwork. So you decided to work outside the system, Sarah says, understanding flooding through her. The parents who brought their children to me, they were where I was, desperate, watching their kids slip away while traditional medicine threw up its hands. Dr. Spears turns back to Sarah. I gave them hope. I gave them results. But I also gave them false documentation, forged consent forms, and treatments that could have killed them if I'd made even the smallest mistake. Sarah looks down at the papers in her hands, evidence of both Dr. Spears' incredible success and her complete disregard for medical law. What happens now? Now? Dr. Spears reaches for her phone. Now I do what I should have done years ago. I stop hiding. The press conference takes place 3 days later. Sarah and Eric watch from the back of the crowded hospital auditorium as Dr. Spears approaches the podium. Cameras flash, reporters lean forward with their recorders, and hospital administrators sit stone-faced in the front row. My name is Dr. Evelyn Spears, and I have been conducting unauthorized medical research for the past 4 years. She begins, her voice clear and strong. I have violated FDA protocols, falsified documentation, and performed experimental procedures without proper oversight. I have also saved the lives of 43 patients who were told they had no hope left. The room erupts in questions, but Dr. Spears raises her hand for silence. She methodically explains her research, her methods, and her results. She presents Sarah's decrypted files as evidence, crediting the young intern's courage in bringing the truth to light. I am prepared to face the consequences of my actions, Dr. Spears concludes. But I am also prepared to fight for a system that doesn't force doctors to choose between following rules and saving lives. Over the following months, Sarah watches as Dr. Spears' case ignites national debate about medical ethics, regulatory reform, and the balance between safety and innovation. The doctor faces criminal charges but also receives support from patients' rights groups and medical professionals calling for streamlined approval processes for breakthrough treatments. Sarah herself becomes an unexpected voice in the conversation. News outlets seek her perspective as the whistleblower who uncovered the story, and she finds herself testifying before congressional committees about the need for ethical flexibility in desperate cases. Standing in the same hospital corridor where this all began, Sarah reflects on how much has changed. Dr. Spears' unauthorized lab has been shut down, but 3 pharmaceutical companies have approached her about developing her treatments through proper channels. The patients she saved are advocating for her, sharing their stories of miraculous recoveries that never would have happened without her willingness to break the rules. Sarah's phone buzzes with a text from Eric. Saw the news. Dr. Spears' first treatment just got fast-tracked for FDA approval. Looks like your courage changed everything. She smiles, remembering that moment when Dr. Spears whispered, "You were never supposed to see that," and locked the door. Sometimes the things we're not supposed to see are exactly what the world needs to witness. Sometimes breaking the rules is the only way to save lives. And sometimes, finding the courage to speak up is the most important thing an intern can do. The truth she uncovered didn't just expose corruption. It sparked a revolution in how we think about medical innovation, patient advocacy, and the responsibility we all have to question systems that might be failing the people they're meant to protect. What would you have done in Sarah's position? When you discover something that challenges everything you thought you knew, do you stay silent or speak up? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that explore the complex moral choices we face when we dare to look behind locked doors.